Good evening. My name is Monica Rodriguez, candidate for Council District 7. I'm a lifelong resident of the 7th District and a homeowner raising my family for the last 16 years in Mission Hills. This community has been abandoned by leadership. In the last 10 years, we have seen 3 elected officials who prioritize their own political interest before putting that of the community ahead of them. I am someone who has done this job from the bottom up, starting my career at the age of 20 because I wanted to be a voice for change in city government. I started at City Hall working as a staff member on the City Council, working my way up as one of the youngest staff members to Mayor Richard Reardon, leading community revitalization efforts and economic development, cutting through red tape, working in the private sector to help families save their homes from foreclosure during the economic recession. Most recently on the Board of Public Works, I led initiatives to help paved the most number of streets paved in the city's history, over 2,400, and created small business academies to help small business come back to Los Angeles.
I'm Cara Tarosian. I'd like to thank the Sylmar Neighborhood Council, Mission College, all of my fellow candidates, and you for coming out here tonight. It's not easy putting yourself out there and running for office, and I thank each and every one of you guys for having done that. And I know that there are 20 candidates running in this because for too long City Hall has abandoned us and everyone stepped up to say we've had enough. We cannot give in to the special interests of City Hall. We need to be the voice of the people. We need to work together to fight on important issues like addressing the homeless crisis in the city of Los Angeles, like protecting our open space, improving public safety in our communities, and stopping the high-speed rail, and most importantly, bringing a fire station to Sylmar. I want to be an accessible council member. My cell phone number is area code 818-714-1516. It's also on the flyer on that table. Feel free to give me a call to talk about my campaign. More importantly, if I'm your representative, please call me and have a direct dialogue with your council member.
The first question is on public safety. Sylmar suffers from high crime rates, and due to our geography, we're also more susceptible to wildfires and other natural disasters. Yet, compared to other communities, we have fewer police and emergency services and longer emergency response time. What will you do to help us bring these much-needed services to Sylmar?
Cara Tarosian. Public safety is a very important issue facing our communities today. We only get 4 police cars on a minimum deployment in Mission Division. That's not enough for an area of 28 square miles. What we need to do is we need to bring back the officers that we've lost because of the special units created. We don't need overlapping special units. We need those officers back on patrol in our communities. And on the fire side, it is unacceptable that the Northeast San Fernando Valley and Sylmar have response times of up to 13 minutes, according to an LA Times map, for fire response time. That's the difference between life and death. We need to improve that. The way that we can do that is if we were to prevent one station or one sand fire from occurring, and the costs that we incur when those fires occur, that will pay for the station, that will pay for the services. We need to bring firefighters and police officers off of desk duty and put them back on patrol. We have way too many police officers in our police departments doing clerical work that we can have them be put back on our duty. We have firefighters that sit at a desk and do plan check for developers. We can have engineers doing those jobs and have the firefighters back in our fire stations and back on our streets so that we don't have to deal with a 13-minute or 9-minute response time as it is in my house. It's unacceptable. If I ever need to call the 911, I know to wait 9 minutes. That's not going to be acceptable if I ever need them. Thank you.
Public safety is paramount to everything that we're going to be talking about during this campaign. And when you talk about our response times, the response time for a fire truck to get to someone's home during a critical situation is a life or death situation. Right now, the 7th District is a reflection of the disservice that we have been getting from City Hall in that our council district has lost 2 engines in servicing the Northeast San Fernando Valley, which has direct implications for what we need to support the foothills during these very treacherous fire times that we have in the summer times. As a result of the loss of 2 engines, both at Fire Station 75s and at 74s in Tujunga, it is first and foremost paramount for us to restore those services so that we can then start having the conversation about getting the expanded services here in the Sylmar community. Because we have an entire network that supports one another on the LA City Fire Department, and if we don't restore the services at those two fire stations first, we won't be able to ever fulfill the needs that we have in this community with getting another fire station, let alone getting the additional services that we deserve. The fast response vehicle that was deployed here on an interim basis is something as an interim is a minimum that what we need to continue to deploy in order to ensure that until we get that fire station built, we are able to help improve our response times here locally, whether it's with the local fire service or whether it's with emergency health response issues with our ambulance. As far as LAPD goes, we have to redistribute the way the resources are currently allocated in service to the Mission Area Station, which services this area, as well as how the response times that we are affected with in the Foothill Division. What we have right now is a car that was lost in Pacoima to Sunland Tujunga because of an increase in reported crime. It's not that we are not having more crime in Sunland Tujunga than in Pacoima. The reality is that we have a much underrepresented, underreported crime in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, and we need to change that.
This question pertains to city services. Many of us in CD7 feel neglected because it seems that city services aren't distributed as quickly or as equitably compared to communities in other districts. Please give us some specifics as to how you will improve upon the delivery of these city services to Sylmar.
Most recently, in my position as a commissioner on the Board of Public Works, I actually led a number of these initiatives. Most importantly, right now, we have a very unique opportunity, given the sidewalk settlement agreement, to finally help repair many of the sidewalks that have been destroyed and have been uplifted by many of the tree roots in this city. We have a situation right now where Xylella has taken on and killed a number of trees in the San Fernando Valley, causing us a huge liability for both for people and for their private property. Being proactive about removing these dead trees is going to be one way where we will find a very large return on investment by making sure that we reduce our liability as a city from being affected by these issues, but more importantly, also making sure that we can start to have the kind of community and quality of life and the environment that we want to see in this area. The sidewalk repair program is going to be another very important tool in us getting there. I led the initiative to help make sure that we could overhaul our city's asphalt plant, something that was over 70 years old, so that we can produce our own asphalt. Another return on investment that had been neglected by two previous mayoral administrations, but we finally broke ground on that project so that we could increase our recycled content, increase the longevity of our streets so that we don't have to repave them as often, and we are finally going to take the returns from that investment and actually expand our ability to invest in more street resurfacing in this city. More importantly, I will lead an effort on proactive cleanups in this area, utilizing the very same contractors that we have used for years and depended upon for our proactive graffiti abatement process. That is a unique way of us not having to necessarily wait for the Department of Sanitation to get that call from your 311, but to make sure that just alongside our graffiti abatement program, we can actually start managing and getting ahead of these illegal dumping situations and all the garbage in our community to keep it clean.
When the Sylmar Community Plan is updated next, what would be your position on growth?
Land use and development is a very important topic. I have a background in land use. I'm an urban planner from Cal Poly Pomona. I got my graduate degree from there. I was also my neighborhood council's land use chair and vice president. I know how important it is to get the input of the people and the communities to be a part of the discussions. Sylmar is actually unique because it is one of the few communities in the city of Los Angeles that did get a community plan update in the last 20 years. What we need to do is make sure that we protect that community plan because it's what we all as a community came up and agreed to. We need to make sure that we protect our equestrian lifestyle. It is a unique lifestyle in our community, and we need to make sure that we don't lose it to the developers who'd love to come in and destroy it. We need to protect our oak trees in our communities. We need to protect our open space. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the Sierra Club because I'm going to be fighting to protect our open space. The places that we need to the only places that growth is acceptable in our communities is the places around major transit. And major transit isn't the bus that comes around our community once every hour. It would only be if we got light rail in our neighborhoods. That would be the only places where growth would be appropriate. One other thing that I'm going to be introducing, if I have the opportunity to be your council member, is if a fire department response time isn't 6 minutes or less, a major development project cannot occur on that property until it's fixed. That will get the development community to be the largest advocates to getting us another fire station and getting our response times lower. We need to protect our open space. We need to oppose high-speed rail so that it doesn't destroy our communities, and I put that in the land use category also since it doesn't have its own. I'm Carl Tarosian. I'm going to be fighting with you guys against the developers, and I'm going to be empowering our neighborhoods and our neighborhood councils. Our neighborhood councils know what they want in their neighborhoods, and we need to be able to empower them to have the ability.
Sylmar has had an alarming increase in the number of people experiencing homelessness. Yet we lack fair and equitable city services to address the situation. Homelessness negatively impacts the daily lives of all our Sylmar stakeholders and leaves our homeless cruelly underserved. How will you address this plight?
Good evening again, Carl Tarosian. So homelessness is a major crisis that our city is facing, and I think what we need to do is stop with the press releases, stop with the headlines, and actually roll up our sleeves to get things done. Unfortunately, every time they try to do a little bit of something, they're more into getting the headlines and the press release out so that they can be on the cover of the LA Times saying we're doing something about it instead of actually rolling up their sleeves and doing something about it. What that does is it actually tells the people, the homeless individuals in Orange County, Indio, and our surrounding neighborhoods that, hey, LA's doing X, Y, or Z, even though we're not. We're putting it in a press release, and it's attracting the homelessness here. We have had way too many of that. There's actually a lot of individuals who, and we need to address our homeless problem before we start to address everybody else's. The long-term fix to this is permanent supportive housing, but unfortunately that's going to be a long-term fix. I've worked with Habitat for Humanity and other service providers to actually build housing for low-income individuals and for low-income individuals and low-income veterans, but what we also need to do is look at the short-term fixes. We do need to make the Armory a 24-hour shelter. It's an opportunity to actually house individuals right now and get them off our streets. It's not appropriate to have individuals sleeping on our streets day in and day out. We need to work with nonprofit service providers like Hope of the Valley to create pods. It's a 9 by 10 square foot room. It's prefabbed in a factory. You can drop them in. You can put 30 of them together with communal restrooms and a communal kitchen facility. These things are at a fraction of the cost of permanent supportive housing. It gets people in a room with a roof and a heater so that they can actually start getting their life on track. We also need to be able to have a system.
Open-ended question number 6. In raising standards of living by increasing economic opportunities, businesses are an integral part of Sylmar's community. If you're elected, what actions would you take to bring high-quality businesses to Sylmar and to support our current businesses as well?
As someone who worked for Mayor Reardon, helping to revitalize a number of economic corridors throughout the city of Los Angeles, I'm someone who has the practical experience to get this done for our community. As someone who served on the Board of Public Works and helping many of our small business owners here locally, like Vivian Hartman of Buffalo Bruce's, who didn't have the infrastructure that she had been crying to the last 2 city council members for assistance with. Her cries went ignored until she met me while I was on the Board of Public Works and helped to redo the entire sidewalk and curb and gutter water in an area that had been chronically flooding her business. This is the type of response that our community is deserving of, and our local businesses have long suffered through the lack of representation at City Hall and our local elected officials. As someone who has had the practical experience of actually not only helping to mitigate a lot of the problems that many of our business owners have faced, I have helped them create a pathway through the permitting process to help accelerate them getting into day one business getting their business open on day one, and that is the type of leadership that I would deploy in this area, because what we need here is a concierge service for our business community so that they can navigate City Hall effectively and create those local jobs that we want to see happening for our youth and the members of our community. I am someone who has done this as someone who has worked both on the Board of Public Works and working for the mayor in order to achieve that, and I will continue to do that in my role here on the Los Angeles City Council, should I be honored with your support. My name is Monica Rodriguez. I'm number 63 on the ballot, and I look forward to communicating with you more after this forum. Thank you. Monica Rodriguez, number 63 on your ballot, and I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. This race is far too important to leave it to the hands of people that don't understand how City Hall works and how complicated it can be to actually get things accomplished. As someone who has developed a 22-year track record of getting things done and making government work for us, creating the public-private partnerships that are going to make the maximum and best use of our resources, I am best prepared to hit the ground running on day one, given that we don't have any representation right now at City Hall. We need someone who knows how to hit the ground running, and I am the best candidate suited for that. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you everybody for being out here. I'm Cara Tarosian. I want to be your candidate for City Council. If you didn't like some of the questions the way that I answered them, call me. Let's discuss it, because I was answering the question that was on the board, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. My number is on the flyer in the back over there, the thank you flyer. Feel free to grab one. Give me a call. Let's have a dialogue. Again, thank you very much for coming out here. I want to be a representative government of the people, by the people, and not a government that's going to force things down people's throats. Thank you.